Poppins here enjoys Christmas more than most people. We're here to tell the unexpected story of Jackson, Michigan.
From Coney dogs to fudge and candy,
to the formation of a new political party for our nation,
as well as the auto industry and the largest state prison.
This city holds an unexpected and fascinating story. Join us as we explore Jackson, Michigan. This is another Poppins production. I'm Chuck.
I'm Poppins, and the channel is Restless Viking. Come with us on our first visit to the Finders Keepers Christmas Market here in Jackson, Michigan.
We're heading to the Finders Keepers Christmas Market. And like a quarter mile behind me is nothing but parking, so this thing's kind of a big deal.
Yes.
Chuck, did you know that the term Finders Keepers had started back in Roman times? And then in 1982, Mr. Donaldson found a bracelet in a British Airways airport. He brought it to the customer service desk and he left his name and number in case the owner did not come and get it. Well, British Airways sold it for 850 pounds, so Donaldson took them to court. And he won due to the ancient Roman law.
So, did they use Finders Keepers in the court opinion? Yes, they did. Let me get this straight. Dude finds the bracelet, turns it in, they sell it. He says, oh, no. And he goes to court and he says, Finders Keepers. So we just left one building, and now apparently there's another building that they call the big building. This place is huge, Poppins.
It goes on and on.
Poppins, did you know that the first Christmas markets can be traced back to the late medieval period in German-speaking Europe? They were held during the 4 weeks of Advent so that they could stock up for the cold months that were coming ahead. And the first one was in 1432 in Dresden's Striezelmatt. And I know I didn't pronounce that right. So that was the Jackson Finder Keepers Striezelmatt. That's kind of impressive. It was huge.
It was huge. We even purchased some startup. In 1829, this city was developed at the crossroads of native trails. It was named for Andrew Jackson. At first they named it Jacksonburg and Jacksonopolis, but they finally decided on Jackson. It's a city rich in history with industry, the abolitionist movement, and was twice home to the largest walled prison in the world. It's a city that has both fought for freedom and imprisoned criminals. But what truly sets Jackson apart today is its vibrant community spirit and the thriving art scene. Local artists and creative initiatives have breathed new life into the city, transforming it into a cultural hub where collaboration and passion flourish. Jackson knows how to make the holidays fun with a half day off for students. They're all gathering here at the farmers market.
You can get one of these and walk around this market and put together a charcuterie board.
You make all kinds of leather goods.
Everything, your purses, your knife sheaths, your gun holsters.
They put their bridge card through here, I put the amount in, and the state of Michigan has a program that when you use your EBT card at a farmer's market, they will double it for you up to $20. We have 4 apartment complexes going up downtown with hundreds of tenants in them, and we're a food desert. We don't have anywhere where you can come down.
Now you do. Something.
If you want to truly understand a city and its people, skip the tourist traps and head straight to the farmers market. This is neat. Cool. This is my husband, Chuck.
I got a pound and a half of cheese.
Thank you, Sarah. And some cheese?
I did. Pound and a half.
You do better than I did.
Do we need to delay some more? I told my husband, this is nutty.
Really? Okay.
Why does somebody not do something about it? He's like, somebody should.
This is Melissa, Jackson's own Mrs. Claus. When the former Mrs. Claus passed away, Melissa stepped into the role with heart and purpose. She shared a story with us about her daughter Lauren meeting the late Mrs. Claus and the pure magic of her knowing Lauren's name.
Is his name Bob? No. Is his name Earl? No way. It
really
It
is.
is magical. It is magical. And
So the namesake of Jackson, Michigan was President Andrew Jackson. And one of our major political parties at the time, the Whig Party, was in opposition for Jackson because they felt he condoned slavery and didn't do enough to abolish it. So in that same city that held his namesake, some people gathered with the idea of starting a new party to replace the Whig Party that put a priority on abolishing slavery. So in the town named after Andrew Jackson, a party was created to oppose him, and the idea started here at this rock on July 6th of 1854. Now in Ripon, Wisconsin, they had their first meeting to form the Republican Party, so they take claim today as the birthplace of the Republican Party during a time of civil strife with the intention of abolishing slavery and vindicate democracy. And in 1910, this rock was dedicated by President Taft. It was visited by Eisenhower, and then on the 100th anniversary of the Republican Party, Nixon came to honor Republican Rock.
Abraham Lincoln was our first Republican president, elected in 1861. With the Civil War being such an important part in Jackson's history, they hold the largest Civil War reenactment this side of the Mississippi at the Cascades. Since 1984, 15,000 Civil War reenactors have come here to the Cascades Park and set up Jacksonburg, as well as reenacting battles from the Civil War. Now, these battles would go on for days. I came in the early 1990s and sat as a spectator and watched the battles happen. As the battle proceeded, one soldier was struck by a bullet and just folded onto the ground. With pain on his face, he pulled out his journal to write his final words. That to me was a powerful experience.
So Jackson was a lot of things. It was the birthplace of the Republican Party, it was a hub of industry, and it was also the site of the first Michigan State Prison. Now, punishment before the 1830s in our country consisted of banishing someone from your community. But as we got more industrialized and as populations got denser, banishing someone from your town didn't mean that they were going to stop being a criminal. They might go to the next town. So whipping posts were also a common sight at town squares. They might use the old well pump. Well, they'll tie a prisoner up and whip them, but those types of punishment were kind of falling out of favor. And then the idea of containing those people started to become more popular. And Michigan, which had just become a state, had to solve that problem of having prisoners that needed to be contained.
Well, in 1839, 35 prisoners were brought here to Jackson, Michigan to a wooden prison. It was 1840 when 10 prisoners escaped, frightening the population. They hung out in nearby Spring Arbor for 2 years. At that time then, they decided that they needed to build a stronger prison with brick and mortar. They captured all but 2 of those Spring Arbor convicts.
And in the 1850s, a warden, H.F. Hatch, emphasized education and rehabilitation. The thinking was that busy hands would lead to reform. And with that cheap labor and the nearby railroad depot, that helped propel Jackson into an industrial city. And the prison produced finely crafted leather and wood items. By 1882, 2,000 inmates were held within these walls. And at the time, it was the world's largest walled prison. And here within these walls is where the prisoners stayed. So the prisoners would stay here in the walled facility. And then when it was time to go to work, they would walk over here to work and complete their factory tasks.
This wagon wheel shop is now an arts venue, the Armored Arts Village. You can come here on Thursday night for open mic night. There's festivals, art shows, concerts. Here at Art 634, their motto is, we're always up to something.
By the 1920s, this prison wasn't large enough to hold all the prisoners, so a new prison was constructed that could hold 5,200 inmates. And again, Jackson was home to the largest walled prison in the world. And the State Prison of Southern Michigan was completed in 1934. As the population continued to grow, the village of Jackson became the city of Jackson in 1857. From 1901 to 1954, Jackson was home to 25 auto manufacturers that made a variety of cars, including a standard electric car called the Runabout. One unique feature about Jackson are bright walls, where they've taken the walls of the city buildings and they've made them into art. And hey, Poppins, did you know Jackson, Michigan was a leading manufacturer of corsets?
Right here was Moses Bourtree's corset factory. It was the first corset factory outside of New York. From 1868 to 1920, they made corsets. In fact, there were 16 corset manufacturers here in Jackson, Michigan.
Unfortunately, after the 1920 corsets fell out of fashion. Only 3 of those original corset factories remained, and they turned their attention to therapeutic clothing.
Jackson's Depot played a vital role in the war effort. Its motto was Destination Fighting Front, keep 'em rollin'.
Between 1942 and 1945, Jackson became a major rail hub.
One story was about a soldier, Carl Braun, who wrote about his remembrance of coming through the Jackson station. His girlfriend, Letha, was waiting here and tossed him a box lunch as he stood on the steps of the train coming through the station. He said in his journal that he reflected on that moment as he was fighting in France, and it gave him hope. When he returned after the war, he and Letha came to Jackson and built a life together.
And Jackson Station is still alive. Unlike so many relics of another era, she's still in service. You can still step on a modern Amtrak train and feel the same thrill of arrival and departure like past generations of travelers.
So this depot, opened in 1876, had replaced 2 of the original depots that were in Jackson. And I think it's kind of amazing to imagine all the people that have passed through this station. Freedom seekers, to soldiers, to dignitaries talking to crowds of people. President Taft in 1910, Eisenhower, who I guess was a little long-winded in 52, President Nixon in 1960, and even John F. Kennedy. It seems that maybe Jackson was a bit of a political hotspot throughout its history.
The Jackson train station was meticulously restored in 1978. Standing right next to the train station was Todorov Coney Island restaurant. It's now owned by somebody else, but the Todorov name is still famous for its Coney sauce. It was open 24 hours and it stood where the parking lot is today.
An ingenious plan, because everyone that came in from the train station would go over and have their baked beans, their Coney sauce, and everything else that they wanted.
And now we get to meet Kurt, the 4th generation of the Todorov family.
So the hot dog was invented in 1854, but Coney sauce wasn't really invented until 1914. And they call it Coney sauce as a nod to the original hot dog that it goes on. So we're here to meet Kurt Todorov, 4th generation at Todorov Foods.
You got it.
I loved it. Come on in, please.
Thank you.
Sure, the first documented Coney Island hot dog was served in Jackson in 1914. But ask anyone who's hooked on these messy, saucy dogs drenched in that unmistakable Macedonian-style concoction, and you're bound to hear a different story. Everyone's got an opinion, and trust me, it's a heated one. But we're not here for the debate. We've come for something far more interesting, the story behind the family that's been dishing out that secret sauce for generations. This isn't about hot dogs, it's about family, the American spirit, and a little bit of magic in the bottle.
So my great-grandfather, George, came to this country circa 1905, and he did this and he did that, and eventually in Jackson he owned the grocery store and decided he'd rather be in the restaurant business. So in 1914 is when he bought the building, which became the Jackson Coney Island, and then he opened it as the Jackson Coney Island. He invented our Coney sauce. He invented the Coney Island hot dog. Not the hot dog, but the Coney Island hot dog. You know, my 4 grandparents and 2 great-grandfathers came over here from the old country, and if you ask them on any day of the week and twice on Sunday about their ethnicity, they'd say, I'm an American. As a little boy, I would bugged my father a lot. Daddy, when do I get to go to the restaurant with you and work? So I was 7 years, 11 months, and a few weeks old. Got up at 4 in the morning and got ready, and I went to work with my father. And for the next 10 years, I worked at the other 2 restaurants, and then this one. I was a terribly shy little kid, and the restaurant experience, having to work with people and the public, brought me out of that. And if you talk to my brother and sister, they'd say the same thing. Working at the family restaurant was the best thing that ever happened to them too. I was starting my 9th grade year. We just finished remodeling it. He, that fall, said, what if on Friday and Saturday you run the place after, say, 5 or 6 o'clock? And I thought, trust me with this place, I mean, all the work he put into it, bank loans, succeed, fail, and my parents have entrusted me with all of what they've built, and I took it serious. I did, and I liked it.
This is as American as it gets. Mom and Pop put you to work scrubbing dishes, mopping floors, maybe flipping burgers, and before you know it, you're running the whole damn place. It's the blue-collar MBA, the original American business school, but for the Todorov kids, there was no pressure to carry on the family torch.
But once we left home, we were gone for a long time. Eventually, I relocated to Grand Rapids and then accepted an offer from my father to be partner with him. And I have no regrets, 0.
Kurt went off, charting his own course, a fighter pilot in the Air Force, more years in the aviation business, and yet somehow the pull of home brought him back, because the story wasn't finished.
There are a million different ideas of what constitutes a Coney sauce. We'd like to think that ours is the original and the defining recipe, but other people think otherwise.
We left with a whole new perspective on Jackson. The city's struggles have been real, but the real story here isn't the challenges, it's the people. Resilient, passionate, and unshakably invested in their home. That's what makes Jackson more than just a place on the map.
Stopping by, you guys.
Thank you again. Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
the Coney sauce. And speaking of entrepreneurship, Poppins likes chocolate. So we're going to stop at the local Jackson Candy and Fudge Shop.
Like so much of Jackson, it's where art and hustle collide. The Jackson Candy and Fudge Shop isn't just selling sweets, it's a testament to local creativity repackaged as a charming candy shop. Another business where passion and ingenuity keep the lights on, one bite at a time. May I please have chocolate Butterfinger? Okay. As always, Claudina was there to box our fudge and discuss Christmas time around the city. May I have Rocky Road and regular chocolate.
All right.
Parade tonight, and it's a half day of school today.
Yeah. It was great seeing you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Claudina.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you as well.
Poppins.
What did you get, Chuck?
Well, we got gift packs with like 2 different kinds of fudge in it and stuff. The bridge mix to keep our energy levels up. My favorite gum, Beeman's. For 79 cents, I got little packs of candy. But yeah, Jackson Fudge and Candy. You can get a lot of cool stuff there. A lot of old-fashioned stuff like me. So during the war, many of Jackson's industries switched over to military production to provide for the war effort. And to learn a little bit about that, you can visit Michigan's Military Heritage Museum.
It was meant to be a casual stop to see if there was a story to tell. Small place, unassuming, easy to overlook. But inside we found some big history and some even bigger personalities. Michigan's Military Heritage Museum isn't just another shrine to medal winners and battles. It's a place that honors the everyday soldier, the ones who carry the weight of history. And like the best places, it was packed with the unexpected.
Yeah, this was pulled out of the Detroit River in 1984.
Really? So this isn't just a museum, it's actually on the site of Camp Blair in Jackson.
About 1/3 of all the troops that served in Michigan mustered out of here.
Really?
Yeah, paid out. They might have mustered at their final destination, but they were paid out here. Where you're at right here, it was the commissary quartermaster headquarters buildings.
Okay.
And then just north, these are the barracks.
One of our tour guides, 14-year-old Ari, was nothing short of incredible. Part of a local youth program that pays kids to contribute to their community, he brought a level of passion and historic knowledge that caught us completely off guard. Ari didn't just show us artifacts, he weaved stories around one of the most complete collection of World War I uniforms I've ever seen, sharp, driven, and full of curiosity. This kid's going places, and you'll want to say that you met him first.
So amazing things at this museum. It's built on the site of former Camp Blair. The people are amazing. I think we're gonna come back for a visit someday, but it's just more proof that Jackson's an unexpected city. We did not expect the history that we found here, the knowledge and the collection. Speaking of the Civil War, right around Christmas we have the opportunity to attend a Civil War encampment at the Ella Sharp Museum of Art and History.
Let's head back downtown to Jackson's Carnegie Library, one of 53 Carnegie libraries here in Michigan. So just after the Civil War, the Jackson District Library got its start with 239 donated books and 21 subscriptions to newspapers. Then in 1901, Andrew Carnegie donated $50,000 to build a library here in Jackson, and it opened in 1906.
So Carnegie was a Scottish-American industrialist who was famous, I believe, for making steel. But he left quite a legacy regarding libraries. Around the world, he built 2,509 libraries in many different countries and spent millions of dollars because he believed that libraries were important and that the knowledge that people gain should be free. So 53 of those libraries were built in Michigan, including this one here in Jackson. And today, apparently there's an open house here.
Libraries are more than just buildings filled with books. They're the heartbeat of a community. Walking through the Jackson Library, I couldn't help but be struck by the details, the kind of craftsmanship that speaks of another era, still standing proud over a century later. But we were there to catch up with Santa and Mrs. Claus. They stopped by just before the parade.
Is it a busy night, Santa?
It's always a busy night.
Are you gonna ride in the elevator with us? Wow.
Merry Christmas!
Santa.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Santa.
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you, Santa.
So next we go to the Christmas light parade, and of course I came unprepared for the weather, so I had to buy a hat at the brewery and some gloves at Target. And Poppins,
I got candy, so when there's a lull in the parade, I can toss them out from the back and surprise the kids.
so we are here at the 34th annual light parade in Jackson, and this is where Santa stops by tonight, and they have a parade for him, and they go through town and they're the last float, and then they collect the letters from children, and then they head back to the North Pole. That's pretty exciting, Poppins.
It's extremely exciting. In fact, Chuck just got to ride in the elevator with Santa in the library.
We rescued him.
Well, to be in a city where you get a half day off school for a Christmas parade. So that is a short little taste of Jackson, Michigan. We came here to do the story of Jackson, its history from the Coney sauce to the start of the Republican Party, the largest prison. But that wasn't the story we found. The story we found is of people. The people that make Jackson work, that have been doing it for generations. All the amazing things that make us human and make us get along. So hats off to Jackson. The story that we found was not the story we expected.
The community is so strong here. We were so impressed.
And that's worth a visit. So if you get a chance, stop on out to Jackson, Michigan. From Jackson, Michigan, I'm Chuck.
I'm Poppins.
The channel's Restless Viking. Have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you all in the new year.